The recent speech by the Canadian Prime Minister Sri Mark Carney at World Economic Forum has a number of takeaways for our country as well as for us Indians. Let us consider them one by one.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
A very pungent statement indeed. You have only two options. Either you can bow before the king and sit on a small chair by his side on the dining table, or be prepared to be roasted, cooked, and served on the menu. What a way of putting it. The implication of this statement is that in the culture that Donald Trump is creating, you have either to subordinate yourself to him or you don't have the right to exist. One is reminded of the statement made by the then President, Mr. George W. Bush, at the time of the attack on World Trade Center on 9/11, when he said, either you are with us or you are against us. But that was a different type of context where America had been attacked and they had a reason to have grievance against those who did not support them in their effort to track down the terrorists. But today's situation is very different. This time, not being with the US means asserting your own national dignity and your sovereignty.
Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
The system is breaking, not changing or getting transformed. A new system is being built that works not by rules, but by economic coercion of the hegemons. Let's listen.
What does it mean for middle powers to live the truth? Well, first, it means naming reality. Stop invoking rules-based international order as though it still functions as advertised. Call it what it is, a system of intensifying great power rivalry where the most powerful pursue their interests using economic integration as coercion.
The result of this trend for grabbing for one's own country creates insecurity and extreme forms of protectionism. As Sri Carney says, the countries become fortresses, always fearing an attack, always preparing to defend themselves. This makes the countries weaker, not stronger. There is need, therefore, for the countries to get together and become a counter force, not to singly go and curry favor with the hegemons. The need is for the countries to get together and fight out the situation.
But I'd also say that great powers can afford for now to go it alone. They have the market size, the military capacity, and the leverage to dictate terms. Middle powers do not. But when we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. We accept what's offered. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. This is not sovereignty. It's the performance of sovereignty while accepting subordination. In a world of great power rivalry, the countries in between have a choice. Compete with each other for favor or to combine to create a third path with impact.
The hegemons perhaps don't understand that by their technique of grabbing things, they are ultimately going to harm themselves, because this will push the middle level countries to come together and build up a structure which will be at the cost of the hegemons.
A world of fortresses will be poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. Hegemons cannot continually monetize their relationships. Allies will diversify to hedge against uncertainty.
One feature of Sri Carney's speech is the strident note of opposition to US's plans of taking over Greenland.
Canada strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve our shared objectives of security and prosperity in the Arctic.
The Canadian Prime Minister reaffirms his allegiance to NATO, but gives his commitment to the integrity of the Nordic region as testimony to this allegiance. Such a clever way of managing the situation.
Our commitment to NATO's Article 5 is unwavering. So we're working with our NATO allies, including the Nordic-Baltic Gate, to further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks.
There is a lot in this speech that we Indians need to internalize. He prescribes something that he calls variable geometry, that is, using different coalitions for different issues. This, I believe, is plagiarized from our country, where the Congress is known to form an alliance with AAP or the communists in one state and oppose them in another.
We're doing something else. To help solve global problems, we're pursuing variable geometry. In other words, different coalitions for different issues based on common values and interests. So on Ukraine, we're a core member of the Coalition of the Willing and one of the largest per capita contributors to its defense and security. On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future.
One principle that he mentions, which is already being practiced by our Honorable Prime Minister, is value-based realism or principled pragmatism.
And our new approach rests on what Alexander Stubb, the President of Finland, has termed value-based realism. Or to put another way, we aim to be both principled and pragmatic.
You can stick to your principles only if you are strong, not if you are weak.
That's building a strong domestic economy. It should be every government's immediate priority. And diversification internationally is not just economic prudence, it's a material foundation for honest foreign policy, because countries earn the right to principled stands by reducing their vulnerability to retaliation.
A very interesting dichotomy. Which is more important? Strength of values or value of strength?
And we are no longer just relying on the strength of our values, but also the value of our strengths.
It's a very intelligent speech indeed, and very relevant at this context.